Welcome to Lead, a program that is designed to help you and me to live lives of influence and impact. And this comes to you with compliments from Bishop Ending Clapper, the founder and the senior pastor and leader of God Never Fails Revival Church. And we are broadcasting from our Johannesburg studios here in South Africa. And we do this every Thursday at 3 o'clock South African time. But of course, you can catch us any other time through our YouTube channel and our Facebook live streaming. Otherwise, during this time at God Never Fails Television. And I'm so excited today to be part of this session today, where we are dealing with our resetting for thriving in the new normal. Resetting for thriving in the new normal. And this is part 2, and we are dealing with resetting your sight. Reset your sight. I want us now to read from the book of Proverbs 22 verse 3. It is a scripture that we are reading in all the parts. This is a 7-part series, Resetting to Thrive in the New Normal. Today we're dealing with part 2. Last time we dealt with part 1, which was to reset your sanity. And today we're dealing with resetting your sight. Now let's read our recurring scripture. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. Foreseeing the danger, we are talking about foreseeing the new normal, the new world that has been brought by the crisis that you might have gone through. Because a crisis comes to take away the old world. It obliterates the old normal, and you find yourself in a new place. Now, if you are prudent, whilst you are going through crisis, you foresee danger. It is danger not because the new normal in itself is dangerous, but it is dangerous because it is unfamiliar. You were not prepared for it. You were not trained for it. It's unfamiliar. It is the unfamiliarity. It is the uncertainty. It is the volatility. It is the ambiguity and the ambivalence of the new normal that makes it dangerous, that makes it evil. But if you are prudent, if you are wise, you foresee it and take precautions. And the precautions we're talking about now is to say, reset yourself for the new normal. But if you don't do that, then you are like the simple or the simpleton or the foolish ones or the non-thinking ones who just get into the new normal without taking precautions, and they get punished. They get in blindly and they suffer the consequences. This segment is designed to help you not to suffer the consequences, not to be punished by the new normal. The new normal has been brought to us by God Himself. I tell you, He allowed whatever happened so that a new thing can be birthed. I always say that a crisis is heaven's contraction to birth a new thing that is to serve us well. Of course, that birthing comes with pain because the womb contracts, and that causes pain. The womb of the heavens contracts and it causes pain. But it is this contraction that actually brings about these new things that we are going to be enjoying going forward. But they become danger to you if you do not reset so that you are relevant for the times. Part 1, we dealt with resetting your sanity. Part 2, today, we're dealing with resetting your sight. Yes, resetting your sight. Why are we talking about resetting your sight? Well, I have a statement for you there. It says, if if you can't change what you see, change how you see it. If you can't change what you see, change how you see it. There is power in seeing, but there is even much more power in how you see things. And I'll talk briefly about hindsight, insight, foresight, parasight, and theosight. Basically, I'll be talking about vision. Now, let's talk about this now. You need to reset your sight. Why? When crisis comes, just like we talked last time about crisis comes and it messes up your mind. It messes up your thinking capacity. You lose your mind. You become insane sometimes because of the crisis. Well, crisis also can blind you. It can make you not to see. If that crisis comes metaphorically as a storm, for example, there are storm dusts. The storm can cause dust particles to get into the atmosphere, and they get into your eyes and you can't possibly see. The storm itself, it can be having a cumulonimbus cloud which is so dark you can't see. It may be raining heavily, you just can't see. The tornado or the hurricane might have brought down some trees across the road, and you have been driving. All of a sudden, there's a huge tree across the road. You can't see where you're going to. Or it is just a crisis that caused so much pain to you. It has been so painful emotionally, physically, and otherwise that you have been crying and your eyes are full of tears. You just can't see. And of course, it's a right to cry when you are in pain, but guess what? You can't cry forever. There comes a time when you have to wipe away your tears. Because if your eyes are full of tears perpetually, it means you will not be able to see the new thing that God has for you. You won't even be able to appreciate the new normal because your eyes are full of tears. So resetting your sight basically means see again. But it is interesting that in your seeing again, like Jimmy Cliff says, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. You know, when the rain is gone, when the storm is gone, you need to see again. But sometimes you find that the crisis came to give you an opportunity to even reorganize your thinking. You may now see much better than you used to see in the past because this is a new normal. So it doesn't have to be the old way of seeing. It could be another way of seeing. You could be putting on a new set of spectacles, a new pair of eyes, and you see the way you see because of the pair of eyes that you are using. And that is why I said, if you can't change what you see, change how you see it. Maybe you need to alter the way you are seeing. Maybe in the old normal, you even missed out on certain opportunities which you didn't see because you were using a different pair of spectacles. Do you know that there can be bacteria in your hands and you look at your hand, you don't see no bacteria because you are using these spectacles? But if you take off these spectacles and you now take another pair of spectacles called the microscope, now you'll be able to see the bacteria. You can look up to the sky and you just see the blueness of the sky. But do you know that there are planets and all kinds of galactic things up in the heavens? If you take binoculars, you may see some birds flying in the sky, which you could not see with your naked eye. If you take a telescope, you may be able to see other planets and other stars at a distance. It really depends on what you are using. If you can't change what you see, change how you see it. So in the new normal, maybe the new normal is calling on you to use a new set of instruments. Or it just needs a certain adjustment, a zooming of some kind, Do you know that with the same binoculars, you may just see a bird that is flying here, but you may not see another bird beyond? Why? Because you have not adjusted it for you to be able to see afar. So when we're talking about resetting your sight, it means that appropriate your vision for the new calling. Appropriate your vision for the new mandate. Appropriate your vision for the new normal. Appropriate your vision for the new challenge. Reset your sight. We don't have a lot of time, but I just need to propose that you can have what we call polyocular vision. Poly means many, and ocular means eyes. It's a medical word for eyes. In fact, it's in Latin for the eyes. And here I'm referring to the eyes of the mind. Did you know that we do not see with our eyes, but we see with our mind? The mind has got eyes that are better than these physical eyes that you see. And those eyes basically are the functions of the mind. And when you execute those functions, you begin to see. Just by executing the functions, you begin to see. So each function it produces a sight. And there are many functions of the mind, but there are 5 of them that are relevant to what we're talking about now. The first one is to remember. When you remember, you see back 2 days back, 5 years back, 10 years back, and that gives you a sight called hind sight. This sight, you get it when you use this function of the mind called remembering. Because when you remember, you look back, and you don't see back or look back using your physical eyes, but you use your mind. Then you have hind sight. And it's important for you to have hindsight so that you can remember the great things you did. But not only just so that you can celebrate them and relax there, because we're not going back, but at least it shows you that you are not Mickey Mouse. You are not that bad. You once did it, man, and if you did it before, you can do it even now. And if the Lord did it for you, if you can look back and remember that the Lord caused the Red Sea to divide into 2, you know that, man, he can give you the power to cross the river Jordan. If you manage to cross that danger, a sea, you crossed a sea. Now there's just a river in front of you. The second function of the mind is to reason. When you reason, you look deep into issues, dissecting and analyzing things. And when you look deep into issues, you develop a sight called insight. Insight. It's actually called understanding. So it's like when you read a book, your eyes see the lines, but your mind see between the lines, so you can have an understanding. Right now you are listening to me, your ears hear the words, but your mind hears between the words as you dissect the words and analyze them, so you can have insight or an understanding. The third function of the mind is to imagine. Imagine the future, 5 years to come, 10 years to come. When you imagine, you look ahead. And once again, you don't use your eyes to see 5 years to come. You use your mind. And that function of imagining, it gives you a sight called foresight. Without it, it's going to be difficult for you to move forward. But then there are other 2 sights that I have coined them for you. but I did not coin the functions because the functions of the mind have always been there. So what is this function that leads us to the fourth sight? It's called it's called circumspection. Circumspection. To circumspect is to look around. Circum means around, or periphery, or environment. Spect, it's a Latin word for the word to see, like we have it in spectacles, or to inspect or expect. So circumspect means to look around. And when you do that, you develop a sight called perisight. Now this is a word that I have coined myself, peri, from the word, a root word for periphery. And then of course sight. So perisight, seeing around. Seeing around, you've got perisight. And this is applicable in business and in leadership and in management in terms of seeing through the eyes of others, seeing through the eyes of those who are around you. So that is why we do employee satisfaction surveys. We do customer satisfaction surveys. We do stakeholder satisfaction surveys. We do these surveys and suggestion box and whatever because we are trying to get ideas to have the perspectives of other people. That is perisight. You need to sharpen this sight. You've got mentors around you, you've got coaches around you, you've got strategic partners around you, you've got alliances around you. Don't miss out. Take advantage of what they see so you can enrich your own perisight. And then the last one is a very important function that we often neglect and yet is so important. And that is called contemplation or meditation. When you contemplate on God, when you meditate on the promises of God, when you meditate on what God has said, it's basically looking up to God. When you meditate, you look up to God. And the up here is not really a geographical parameter or dimension. It's not geographical, but it's really symbolism that God is higher than ourselves. But in reality, we're really looking unto God who is on our inside. But I'm just using the symbolism of looking up, demonstrating that God is higher than us. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So when you meditate, you are looking up to God. When you meditate on His word, you are looking up to God Himself. Because the word was in the beginning, and the word was with God, and the word was God. So when you meditate on the word, you are basically meditating on God. Your eyes are on God. And that is called theosight. Theo means God, or that which you believe in. Theo means God. So theosight, it's really seeing God. It's really seeing God, seeing the word as you meditate on it, as you look up to God. Work on the functions of your mind so you can increase your capacity to see. When you do that, you are resetting your sight. You will now have a clear vision. You have hindsight, insight, foresight, perisight, theosight. That is full vision. There is clarity of vision. You cannot be confused by anything because you